Hey yo, LeBron James versus Stephen A. Smith, round two. Let's go.
Class act up in first class for the leg room. K-Ho glitch, time pass in the restroom. Take a bad bitch to a 1.5-star motel. Then I'm back to crash in my bedroom. Been broke down all inside, not a flesh wound. Talking down with you.
Who decision what to talk about it? Stupid decision, walk without it. You swear you all about it. You think you live it, but it's like once upon a time I met the boogeyman off the booger sugar, the Cuban good and Judah. Used to be a pierce to my wrist was period. Them diamonds back when I was a no one, back when I was anonymous, brand new.
What's up, Sports World Talk? Right now, we are talking round two of Stephen A. versus LeBron James, or LeBron James versus just the media in general, it seems like, after the Pat McAfee interview, which was a great interview. I definitely enjoyed it myself. Being able to see LeBron in that type of atmosphere to where he's definitely free speaking. He's not necessarily holding anything back. It don't seem like, to hear LeBron be that open on just thoughts. You can tell he definitely went in on a mission. You know what I mean? He went in there definitely thinking, okay, hey, I'm about to cover this. You know what I mean? Whether it was the him signing with Nike because of Jordan and stuff like that. Of course, the Stephen A. Smith stuff, the view, how people see his son and stuff like that. He definitely wanted to make sure he went in there and accomplished things. And I feel like he did. You know what I mean? And I feel like I said, it's good to see him open like that, because you really don't see him that open. You see LeBron James doing interviews as far as his own show, the Talk, or the show that he had with JJ Redick. Now it will be with Steve Nash or whatnot. You see him talking in those arenas, but you're not necessarily like this. I definitely think this was different, and I think it's now getting personal. A little bit personal, I feel. He went on the Pat McAfee show, like I said, covered a lot of things, and the Stephen A. Smith, situation. He said that he said Stephen A. just still don't get it. He says that he knew that Stephen A. was the one that really wanted to rush to ESPN. It was like, I gotta talk about this. It's gonna be top news, which the possibility, but I think the back and forth is, if I was Stephen A. Smith, if I was him, I'm cutting it at that. You know what I mean? Anything I want to say, I'm going to just hit you directly now, as far as not necessarily in the public. You know what I mean? Like, I would have addressed it. Hey, I said what I said already. Let's push to the side. I'm done with it. But, it's just, I feel like it's a turn in the tide a little bit. Because for years, Stephen A. has been looked at as that guy when it comes to NBA stuff. You know what I mean? He's been looked at like, oh, that's like the NBA top insider right there. He's cool with all the NBA guys. Ever since his relationship with Allen Iverson, people looked at him, okay, he's down with AI, AI's down with him, he's cool. Kobe's cool with him, Michael Jordan's cool with, and people have looked at him as in that light for years. But with LeBron James in that situation, it's definitely seeming like a turn of the tide, to where I would hope not. I don't wish that on anybody or him, because I like Stephen A. Smith. Is he extra sometimes? Yes, but I like Stephen A. Smith. But it seems like the players are showcasing they're not cool with him a little bit more. With LeBron James, you have Draymond Green has, made different statements. Kevin Love has also posted something as well, indicating who he's on the side of, which is his ex-teammate, of course. With Draymond Green, he's been on ESPN. He's been on, shows and stuff like that with Stephen A. Smith. So he's definitely chose a LeBron side because, of course, he's closer to LeBron and whatnot. But, I would hate for people to, in the media would have to choose a side, like ex-NBA players or whatever, to have to choose a side or whatever. I would hate for that to come, but it definitely seems like they are changing that perspective of how NBA players view Stephen A. Smith. He isn't looked at as, oh, that's that cool dude right there. He know all the NBA players. They know him. I'm sure he still has relationships there, but is it that some of the relationships is not as what it seems no more? Because it's a new generation. It's a new crop of players, and that's understandable at the same time. Stephen A. Smith is 50, 51, 52 years old, around that age range. You're not going to be hanging out with 19, 20, 21 years old like that. So, which this time was expected in a way, because nobody stands that test of time as far as just being cool for that long, or just being, like I said, seeing like that person for that long with so many different generations. Every generation is different. From the Kobe, from the Michael era, the Kobe era, the LeBron era, and we don't know who's next. Luka, let's go. But just the different generations have going from century to century, and it's different now. So it goes from, and also you have social media, because like now you have people that look at this world now. If you critique them or say they did bad at anything nowadays, you're hating. And a lot of the generations look at maybe Stephen A. is saying those things, as they looking at him as he's a hater. He's just an old dude who don't know it. He's out of touch. That's a possibility. I'm not a believer of just because a person doesn't play in the NBA or never played in the NBA, they don't know nothing about the NBA. Yes, there is a perspective. There is a perspective that they can't necessarily touch on as far as not playing in the NBA. But at the same time, being a fan, being a cover, being a being a historian of the NBA, you can have knowledge of the game too as well. You know what I mean? And like I said, he's a historian. Like I said, he's putting his work as far as through his lifetime of different generations of basketball players and stuff like that. But like I said, it looks like there's a disconnect, a tide that's turning for Stephen A. Unfortunately for him, but with LeBron James leading it, you know what I mean? As far as showing that, hey, I don't mess with this dude. I don't like what he's doing. And like I said, and big up to LeBron as far as for sticking up for his son and also players. Because me as a father, I would definitely probably do the same thing as far as take up for my little man. I would definitely take up for my little man, and any way, shape or fashion, my sons or my daughter. But I think that like I said, LeBron James could be speaking for many. I think that's what we got to really kind of keep an eye out for, as you see other players, other people kind of, side with LeBron and stuff like that. But, and also in the midst of the whole Pat McAfee show, while I say I think it's him going towards the media, or he just kind of, hey, media, I'm checking you right now. He kind of threw a shot at Brian Windhorst as well. He was like, hey, the guy that swears we're like best friends or whatnot, that guy is weird. He's like, yeah, we're like best friends, I heard. And I'm like, wow, that surprised me, because like I said, me personally, I never necessarily heard him talk bad about LeBron, but at the same time, he could put out information that just ain't true. Like LeBron says it. Brian said, hey, he wore number 23 because of Michael Jordan, which that's true. Also, he signed with Nike because of Michael Jordan. That turns out to be false. LeBron James cleared that up. But it definitely seemed like LeBron James is letting the media know, hey, yo, I'm tired of this. So it was a checkmate move that he's checking the media, letting them know the narratives that's coming out. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of that and whatnot. And hey, you can't blame them. When you got so many narratives out there that everybody puts out and stuff. And like I said, it's a new world to where people feel free. People feel free. They can speak on anything. You know what I mean? And sometimes people speak with no respect. You have to speak with respect when you're talking about people. I always tell my little man, hey, you speak with respect until you're disrespected. Once you're disrespected, I don't do respect no more to that individual. But like I said, LeBron James seems like he's checking the media, letting them know, I'm tired of it. This move would not have been done if he wasn't fed up. LeBron James seems to be fed up. He had time. He's in the middle of a playoff race, and he had time. So that's letting you know he was definitely irritated. He was definitely frustrated about the situation. So I think we're done seeing it from LeBron's end. I don't imagine him answering back again. He did do an Instagram post when Stephen A. put on his show, the Stephen A. Smith show. He said that if LeBron James would have swung on me, I would have swung back, which that would have been a terrible situation, I would imagine. 40-year-old man versus 50-year-old man. LeBron's in shape, but Stephen A. Smith did say and admit that he would have got his butt whooped. So he didn't just say he would have swung and won. He said I would have swung, which, like I said, any man, any individual is not just going to sit there and get, a butt whooping. You're going to swing back. So, people make a big deal out of that. But people posting memes of like the Martin show where Martin got beat up and everything and face swollen, which is very funny. And LeBron James, he responded immediate from that, right after the game or whatnot, I think it was, and he posted a video of Stephen A. Smith boxing. And technique ain't all there. I'm not a professional boxer, but I do like boxing. I have, sparred. I have, worked out on the bag and stuff like that before in my lifetime. And that just isn't necessarily the best form, the best technique there. But, I think that this is the end of it from LeBron's side. Hopefully Stephen A., his show comes on First Take. We're going to see how that goes. But right now, that was round 2. Got to give it to LeBron. But let me know what you think. Did LeBron go too far? Was he right on point? Should LeBron have never responded? Let us know. Let's talk about it. Let's go.